Hello, I am here with Dr. Alyse Hamilton, and she's in Edina, Minnesota, which I know quite well because I've been on the shopping channel there for so many years. I'm interested to know, were you aware of Dr. Mahmoud, who was in that area?
I heard about him after I started my A4M training. So otherwise, I didn't know anything about him before that.
His name is Dr. Khalid Mahmoud. He's a wonderful man. He's unfortunately passed a few years ago. And I'm so glad to talk to you because I've spent so much time in Edina. And so many women are asking me, where can I go? And the question I get asked most often is about bioidentical hormone replacement, which, as you know, Dr. Hamilton is a specialty in this form of hormone replacement. And what you must understand, as I'm talking to the viewing audience, is that when it comes to bioidentical hormones, you need to go to a doctor such as Dr. Hamilton, who has chosen to specialize in bioidentical hormones. To go to a regular doctor who hasn't chosen to specialize is like going to a plumber for a heart bypass. It's that out of their realm. So how did you make this switch to functional medicine?
Well, I was practicing emergency medicine about 28 years, and I would see patients constantly coming in over and over with the same problems. And when I'd ask, what's your doctor doing about this? What's the cause? I never got, it was just they were always coming back for the same things. And then I felt like I was a drug pusher because I practiced conventional medicine and everything was drug therapy. And none of these, patients would bring in piles and piles of their prescription bottles, especially elderly patients. And I just thought there's got to be a better way to help patients and practice medicine. So a friend introduced me to the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, and I looked into it and I go, this is exciting because it's looking for the cause. And I was going through my own hormonal issues at the time and didn't really quite know what was going on because we didn't really concentrate that much on any kind of hormone replacement, and everything was typically, the traditional estrogen, Premarin. And so I was going through my own changes and went to my gynecologist and I said, what can I do to help my symptoms? And he offered me birth control pills. And I thought, well, I really don't want birth control pills. What else can I do? And I just felt that there's got to be a better way. And then looking into A4M, I thought, this is amazing. I can actually learn about hormone replacement. And that's how I got involved with it.
Well, how fortunate for you and how fortunate for your patients, because it's such a game changer to get hormones balanced correctly and naturally. None of us have a Premarin deficiency or a Provera deficiency. We have a hormone deficiency.
Right.
So the new way to age is to put back what you've lost in the aging process. So when a woman comes in, and I guess you treat men also?
Yes, I do.
Yes, because men who are listening to this, you have hormones too, and they get just as out of balance as ours.
That's true.
Theirs are a little more easy.
A little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. We women are very complex, as we've always known, but that's why we're so fabulous. So when a patient comes in and wants hormone replacement, or they come in crying and I feel terrible and I don't know why, what's the first thing that you do?
Well, I always have them fill out their 5-page questionnaire because I want to have information ahead of time, and we do a hormonal assessment through our website. So we get an idea of what patients are looking for, and then so they're well versed in what's going to happen at their first visit. So I focus on functional medicine model of the matrix. So I want to know all about sleep and their diet and their toxin exposures, their stressors. So we go through the matrix and do complete history and evaluation. And then I talk to them about my approach is the Symphony of Wellness and balancing all the hormones, looking at the adrenal status first, because that, the master hormone cortisol is is in charge of everything. And so most of my patients come in with weight gain and fatigue, and their hormones are not in balance. So I always tell them that the adrenals are essential to look at cortisol, the anti-aging hormone, and then the 5 sex hormones, because the tissue level of hormones is what we really need to see what you're deficient in. So then I also do they have a blood evaluation as well to rule out other causes like insulin resistance or hyperlipidemia or high cholesterol, make sure their kidney function, liver enzymes, and thyroid. I really look closely at the thyroid to make sure there's no autoimmune process going on, and actually look for the active hormones and address all of those at our second visit.
So comprehensive. It's when I went into hormonal decline was over 20 years ago. And at that time, I was offered sleeping pills, diuretics, anti-anxiety, like this cocktail. And I remember saying to one doctor, "Is this the best you have to offer women?" And he patted me on the shoulder and said, "The drug companies know best, dear." And I remember thinking, I'm going to find this. So, but when I first started on bioidentical hormones, I couldn't believe how much the quality of my life changed. But at that time, even as cutting edge as the doctor I found was, nobody was looking into the entire system the way you just discussed, and the effects of toxicity on health and quality of life today. So do you detox them first, or do you get them feeling a little better on hormones first?
I do a combination of both, because a lot of my patients have intestinal tract issues, and just going over their diet and their nutritional status and the symptoms that they have, I do recommend that, we get their intestinal tract moving, because most of them have constipation. And so we talk about detox programs where some of the companies that I use for supplement recommendations, they have detox packages. So some patients start their initial detox, because I tell them you can jumpstart your weight loss as well, and then help your liver metabolize these toxins and help get rid of them. So I do a combination of both. Some patients who really don't need to be on hormones right away, then I focus on their gut health and getting rid of toxic foods, especially gluten, dairy, and soy. I try to limit that and have them really focus on their diet, because a lot of times their hormone symptoms will improve as they get rid of sugar and gluten. Sugar. Oh, I know.
Unbelievable.
That is a big problem, the sugar.
I've written so many summer size weight loss books. If I wrote a weight loss book today, it would be 5 pages long. Don't eat sugar. Don't eat grain. Eat organic food and avoid chemicals. I mean, it's as basic as that, and then get your hormones balanced. Diet is everything, isn't it?
Nutrition is a big part, and I think when patients can understand that you can feel better if you get rid of toxic foods. Yeah. And then when they do it, then they say, well, I started losing weight and my skin looks better. I'm not having as many hot flashes. My intestinal tract is moving. So a lot of it, just doing that, they're detoxing right there. Right. And then their body's better able to absorb and get the hormone balancing faster.
Sugar used to be an every once in a while treat. I don't know about when you grew up, but every summer my mother would buy, there were 4 kids, my mother would buy a large bottle of root beer and a little pint of vanilla ice cream, and we would each dole it out in 4 glasses, and we would drink that root beer float till we were sucking on the straw and making noise. And it was really a treat. I remember it as like one of the wonderful things of my childhood. And then it became that sugar is something that we had it in our freezers. We had freezers with ice cream, and we had access to sugar all the time. And around then, genetically modified food and pesticides started invading our food supplies and then entering our bodies. And I don't know how people can be healthy anymore unless they are lucky enough to find a doctor like you. I know you can't sit there and say, yes, I know I'm so great, but it really is, from a common sense perspective, you need to rethink health today, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And I think patients, if you sit down and you talk to them and you explain to them about the effects of what these things are doing to your endocrine system, then they get a better idea of that. It is a stepwise approach. I say you can digest an elephant one bite at a time. You can't do everything all at once. So you work on what's their major symptom and try to get that going with improvement. So then they're able to see that it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but cleaning up your diet and getting the gut moving are essential to overall health, plus your sleep, and lowering stressors, balancing your cortisol and your anti-aging hormone. So it's a process, but I think when patients really can understand and they see that they are getting better, then they're more apt to stick to it, and then it improves their quality of life.
Malabsorption is something that comes up a lot in interviews I do with doctors. Can you explain, when you say to a patient, you're not absorbing minerals and nutrients, what that means to the health of the body?
The patients need to understand that our nutrients, our vitamins and minerals, are used in all these enzyme processes in all the cells of the body, and that if you don't have the energy, those nutrients that your cells need, or even the antioxidant support, you're not going to feel better no matter what you do. You can give persons all the hormones in the world, and that's not going to make them feel better if they're not absorbing nutrients, if their intestinal tract's not healthy. So I do stress that fatigue is many things too. It's not just one issue. It can be that they're not absorbing. If their gut's not moving, if they're having acid reflux or bloating, abnormal bowel movements, they don't have a healthy intestinal tract, and they're not going to be absorbing their nutrients that they need. And then our diet does not have, it's not as nutritious. The soils they're overcropping, and we just don't have quality food and not enough nutrition from the foods that we're getting, especially if you're not eating organic or really focusing on fruits and vegetables and organic meats that aren't filled with antibiotics and hormones. So I do a lot of stool testing on my patients to look for, do they have issues with their digestive tract, not enough pancreatic enzymes or hydrochloric acid? Are they absorbing their protein? What is going on with bacteria? Do they have a yeast overgrowth? So we look at, I do a lot of nutritional testing as well, looking for deficiencies, and then stool testing, and then food allergy testing. So kind of doing all of that, and it's really exciting because you really can make a difference and really help a patient rather than just giving a drug to mask a symptom. So
the drugs are like Band-Aids. Drugs don't cure. They just...
No, they just, they patch it up, and then you get a side effect from the drug, right. And then you're taking another drug for that side effect. And it's just crazy conventional medicine. So I've been there, done that, and that is not the way that this changed my whole perspective on practicing medicine, because I was at the point where I didn't want to practice medicine, but just being introduced to A4M was just amazing as far as renewing what I like to do, and I'm helping patients. And the weeks go by so fast. You know, Monday you come to work, and then it's not really like work. It's fun, and
Well, it's
so
like it's detective work. It's detective work. You know, you're with each patient is so different. I would imagine, because I know how I felt after I got my hormones balanced. Every time I saw my doctor, I threw my arms around her and kissed her, and I brought her flowers, and because it's got to be rewarding to be in an arena where people are, grateful for the help that you are giving them.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very rewarding when they do come and they say, "Oh, I feel so much better." I mean, I've even had patients just putting them on magnesium, and they may have never come back, or they've moved or whatever. And one woman sent me a note saying, "You helped me so much. We didn't really do hormones, but I feel so much better." And she was more of a premenstrual type. Early perimenopausal, but she says, "I feel so much better just with the things you told me to do with my diet and the supplements that I recommended just for overall good health." So it's nice when patients feel good and you help make a difference, that they are having a better quality of life.
Why do you think, as a general overall, we're also magnesium deficient in today's world?
I think a lot of it has to do with we are not, no one really, as far as in conventional medicine, and I never got any instructions or information about nutrition or even vitamins or fatty acids, your omega-3s. As a physician, all these years, I never got any kind of information or training on this is what you should be telling your patients. And so I think that a lot of patients just don't know. And when I tell them, I want you to start on magnesium at bedtime, the first visit, they're all put on magnesium, and they look at the symptoms of magnesium deficiency and they go, "Wow, those are all my symptoms," So, and I tell them, magnesium you're using it all the time. 400 functions in the body every day, you're using your magnesium, and I tell them you can't really check a magnesium level and tell if someone's deficient, because there's such a narrow range of normal serum levels of magnesium. I say, just start this magnesium and you'll feel much better, and they all do. And I think it's just we don't teach patients or educate them about diet or nutrition and the importance of supplementing.
I remember asking one doctor in one of my books many years ago, how did it get this way? And he said, "I'll tell you exactly how it got this way. At the turn of the century, there was a guy by the name of Abraham Flexner, who was hired by the two richest families in America, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, who owned pharmaceutical companies."
Pharmaceuticals, yep.
And he was sent to the Institutes of Higher Learning, Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, etc., to offer funding in perpetuity if they would only teach allopathic, making all the other pathics, homeopathic, naturopathic, wacky science.
Science, right.
That's how that began. On the magnesium, I remember interviewing Dr. Russell Blaylock, and it was right after one of these sudden death incidences. A kid on the playground just dropped dead of a heart attack. And I was thinking about it the other day because I saw it in the news. And I remember what he said to me. Because they're all going, "Well, what could have happened?" He said, "It's a perfect storm of low magnesium, high exertion, and high glutamate intake, meaning fast food, chemical food, etc." So I was looking at this environment. Exactly. Yeah. The three together, it doesn't mean it will happen, but it could. And I saw this on the news just the other day, and I thought, it should be mandatory, because unless kids are eating a pure organic diet, that they all be put on magnesium, just to make sure that this phenomenon doesn't happen. But I find magnesium before you go to bed is great. A, it relaxes you. B, you sleep better. And 3, you have a good bowel movement in the morning. It's like a win-win-win. And
that's what the patients, when I say, "Well, what's happened?" The 3 weeks ago, I saw you initially and now we're reviewing everything. I said, has anything improved? And almost all of them will say, I'm sleeping better. I got that magnesium, or even that L-theanine.
Yeah.
They love the L-theanine because a lot of my patients have anxiety,
Right.
and they're on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications for their perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. The interesting thing that I've found, and I'm sure you found it too, because you're hormonally balanced, is when your hormones are in balance, aging is enjoyable. Are you finding that?
Mm-hmm. I feel I have so much energy. I have 6 grandkids, and
Me too.
it's just wonderful. I have them over once a month for a weekend, and I can keep up with them.
Yeah.
We go places. The youngest is 1 year old, and I feel like I can do anything that I want to do. I feel great, and I have to remember that I am I say, Alyse, you are 61, and you had a lot of damage with the sports on the knees, but I know that my knee pain is not because of chronic disease. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I know that there's an aging process, and patients will say, well, how long should I stay on these hormones? I go, as long as you want to stay on your hormones and that they're being monitored and you're balanced.
Because you're not going to start making them again.
Right. I tell them, they go, well, what happens when we stop the hormones? I go, well, you're going to go to your low hormone level state because your adrenals can only do so much. So your symptoms will come back. So
I plan to take hormones till the day I die. As I'm dying, I'm going to be rubbing cream on me. It just makes sense. It makes sense to me. And there's so much misinformation about hormones out there, like estrogen will give you cancer. Dispel that myth right now. Will estrogen give you cancer?
No, estrogen does not give a patient cancer, because I say, all the reproductive women have the highest levels of estrogen, and they don't have a high rate of cancer. So I explain to patients that as we get older and we have there's many toxins in our environment, and the xenoestrogens and the hormones they're putting in the food you eat. I said estrogen metabolism is important to know how you break down your estrogen. And on all my patients, I have them do urine, the complete hormones, to look and see which pathway they're going down. And even before we do that, we talk about at the second visit, your cruciferous vegetables, your flaxseed, antioxidant support, the ratio of your estrogen replacement, the protective weakest one, and only a small amount of the strongest estrogen. You can get a balance without 100% estradiol, the strongest estrogen. So I stress that patients have to be monitored. I tell them I'm not the doctor. You're not going to come to me and just say, well, I want my hormones, and I'm not going to not come for your follow-ups. I say I see my patients every 3 months until they're balanced, and then at least twice a year I get saliva testing to measure to make sure they're balanced. And then I do complete hormone urine metabolism, and see if they're going down the not so safe pathway. Then we're going to do some methylation support and then recheck that and see if that's improved. So I think that monitoring and making sure that you're doing safe hormone replacement is a must. I mean, I do get a lot of patients that gone other places and their hormones are just, I can't believe some of the doses that these patients are on, and they feel awful, and I say it's about balance, and more is not better.
Right. It's like Goldilocks. You do just right. But also, it's smart that you have them come every 3 months in the first year and a couple of visits a year, because stress blunts hormone production.
Right.
And what you and I may have needed for our individual needs last year may have changed this year.
Yeah.
With environment or life events that affect us. And so it needs constant tweaking and updating. It's,
right.
What you do is an art form. And that's the beauty of this kind of medicine. It's an art. It's artful because every patient is different. What you need is different than what I need. I would think, and you can answer this for me, that's part of the enjoyment for you is the art form of it, right?
Yeah, I think it is an art. And I tell them one dose does not fit all. This is not like conventional hormone replacement. I don't know your perfect dose. That's what I tell them. I said, and these hormones need to be adjusted. We got to get them back on your receptors. Takes 3 months to do that, but it's a balancing process, and it does. You can get balance. We can get these hormones balanced, and you're feeling well. And then, I love it when I see on the subjective symptom list that I have, where their symptoms are 0 to 1, versus the 10 of really bad, So when you start out, with the higher numbers, and then it's so nice to see that they're feeling better and those numbers are getting down and they're going, yeah, I don't have any more hot flashes. I'm sleeping through the night. I feel wonderful. I haven't felt like this good in years, so that it's really positive, and I think it makes medicine and what I'm doing. I could keep doing it, I don't feel like I'm retiring anytime soon.
Don't. Don't. They need you in Edina. I have a girlfriend who insists she doesn't need hormones, who is almost 60 years old. I said, wow, you're a wonder of the world. And she said, I don't have any symptoms. I said, you didn't sleep last night. And you mentioned you didn't sleep the night before. And I imagine you don't sleep very well at all. And you tell me you don't have a sex drive. And your hair is thinner than it used to be. And you don't like your fingernails. I said, those are symptoms.
Yeah, because some patients will say, well, I don't have any symptoms. And so then I said, well, did you have that bone density scan with, because they'll bring me their labs, and I go, well, you have bone loss. So you have symptoms of hormone loss, or your cholesterol's high, and it wasn't before.
Right. So I think women feel if they don't have hot flashes, then they're not in hormonal decline. And hot flashes were never my big issue. My big issue was I couldn't sleep, and
that was my issue was the sleep.
And I did not feel like sex at all. I mean, I could do it, but I'd rather have a smoothie.
And then that's the other thing I tell patients, well, libido is not just intercourse or having sex. I said libido is your vitality, your zest for life. How do you feel about that? It doesn't mean that it's just about sex. And so I think when they understand that that libido and zest for life and all of it is something that you want. It doesn't mean that low libido, that you're just thinking about the sexual aspect of that.
No, a healthy person is a sexual person, and when you're not healthy, and imbalanced hormones is not healthy, what's the last thing you feel like doing?
Right, sex.
Right. Well, Dr. Hamilton is in Edina or Edina, depending on either or either. Minnesota, a lovely place, but also for those of you who don't live near her, I hope you take her information that she had today to heart, that there are doctors such as Dr. Hamilton who are really changing lives positively in a non-drug way, and it's so unbelievably exciting. Is there anything you'd like to say just in closing while I just turn off this timer here? Okay, there you go. Yes.
I would tell patients that, or anyone listening, that to have fun and get some good sleep, a good diet, balanced hormones, and enjoy life, and good supplementation for the things that you need replacing, that everyone needs to be on. So I would just say, from a standpoint of you can improve your how you're feeling, strengthen your immune system, improve your cardiovascular health, memory, and bone health with balanced hormones.
Imagine that. Imagine living a long life with great quality, and that's what you offer. Thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton. What a pleasure to meet you and talk with you, and continued success, and don't ever retire.
That's what a couple of my patients said that, and I was like,
Ever.
okay. Well, it was so nice talking with you, and I enjoyed the interview. Thank you.
I hope to meet you sometime. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.